Fred, it's Rody. You're in focus.
Okay.
So I messed up last week.
Yeah.
Well, I let you, we just started, which is fine. I don't mind starting that way. But I didn't introduce you. I never even mentioned your name. And I would like to formally introduce you for our, I don't know how many podcasts we've done, but this will be the second one we're going to actually publish and make public. But
No,
this
okay.
is Dr. Joy Rich.
Hi.
She's focused on changing the world. I met her on her second day at work. I'll let her tell the story if she wants to at some point. But I knew within the day of meeting her, I was canceling every project I had, shutting down the new business I was starting with business partners. It was going to be an AI healthcare company. And wasn't quite sure how we were going to do it, but we're doing it. And we'll get into that later. But I just wanted to formally introduce you.
Well, thank you so much.
Yep, no problem. So today, I think, and I'm not trying to take over because this is really more about you.
Go ahead.
I had a question for you.
Okay.
Before we get into the work that we do, and I'm sure we'll dabble into that, I want to know why you chose to do the work you do. What is your passion behind it? What's driving you? What? Because we ping off each other daily, and it's because we're so obsessive and passionate about our work. But I'm curious about you personally.
So it would actually have to go all the way back to when I was 14 years old.
Okay.
That's how far back it goes.
You've known you were going to change the world for that? Okay.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, I didn't know to this level, but at 14 years old, I got put into public school system. Actually, about 13 years old, but at 14, I was a freshman in high school of a big high school. I had grown up in private schools. My parents got divorced when I was 12, and so suddenly I was in this big world of public school, and I loved it. And I got put into a marketing class because I wanted to get out early my senior year and work. And I had a teacher, Miss Alice Hernandez, who is one of my Facebook friends to this day, who saw potential in me, told me about DECA, told me that I could compete, told me that I could run for state office, like just showed me all of these different things that I could do.
Can I clarify?
Yeah.
Well, you're not still 14 at this point.
Yeah, I was
Because you
14.
said senior year.
Well, so 14 is when I first learned all this. Yes. I'm sorry. So 14 is when I learned all this, freshman year.
I mean, I know you started early. You started.
Well, I started school when I was
3 years old.
Yeah, that's a
Like,
whole
she
other
started
story for
public
another
school
day.
At 3, so
Yeah.
she's a little ahead of her.
So at 14, I was already, freshman, moving into sophomore year. So this teacher, she was considered a CTE teacher. Back then, I didn't know that's what that was, career and technical ed. But she saw me and she saw that I had something special, and she gave me the opportunity to pursue it. She didn't know how to run me for an office. She didn't know how to help me compete. She just saw potential and gave me the chance to pursue it. And that began the trajectory for the rest of my life. And so I realized if one teacher could have that big of an impact on me, imagine if I were just this phenomenal teacher that learned everything that I could learn and I exposed students to everything that they could be exposed to. How many lives could I change? And so I did that for 15 years. I was a high school teacher for 15 years. And then an opportunity came to me to leave the classroom and work for the State Department of Education, and I wouldn't take it. I was like, I can't leave my babies. I can't leave my students. Like, they need me, right? And I had a man say to me at a summer workshop, he said, Joy, think about this. He said, how many kids a year do you impact? And I'm like, I don't know, maybe 100 kids a year. He's like, yeah, so in 15 years, 1,500 kids, not bad. It's not a bad legacy. He was like, but imagine if you could impact 100 teachers a year. And then those 100 teachers impacted 100 students a year. Imagine how big your impact would be. And it was in that moment that I was like, okay, I was made for something bigger. And so the 15 years in a classroom, it gave me that real world, tangible experience so I can relate to teachers and principals and all the struggles. But then the next 10 years is where there is no top. There is no glass ceiling. There is nothing holding me back from anything that God allows me to think up, I can go do. And so I proceeded from there to have different positions at state levels and on the college side. And then I ended up at Nissan, where I met you. Second day on the job, my manager said, you got to meet this guy named Nathan Carroll. I'm like, okay. We met. You kind of had your hat cocked a little sideways. It was kind of like, whatever. Yeah, I do this video thing, blah, blah, blah. And I asked you, when you said about doing the AI health and education, you were so against like public education and all needed to be fixed. And at some point you wanted to be able to do something with it. And I remember saying, well, what if you could do something about it now? And you're like, well, what do you mean? And I introduced myself as Dr. Joy Rich. and I'm ready to change the world. And you were like, you're my new best friend.
That was
And
100% accurate.
how it went. And we have been running at about 120 to 130 miles per hour ever since then.
Yeah, we joke around. I mean, we might get into it. I don't know, but the way we work is we work at the speed of thought, and that sounds a little arrogant, but it's actually true. Our productivity is on another level.
Yeah.
And it's not just because we ping off each other. You didn't think I was completely and crazy the first day you met me. You probably knew I was a little bit crazy.
I mean, I kind of describe you as like sticking a fork in an electric socket and just hanging on.
Yeah.
But I'm not far from that. So
Yeah.
when we're both full throttle, we can definitely generate energy.
Yeah, and it's funny because we're never both pinging at the same time. We alternate, and it depends on who's pinging.
Yes.
I'll go calm when she's wide open, and,
Yes.
and I'm absorbing, and then it's back and forth. It's a high energy.
It's very organic.
Yeah.
We didn't even realize we were doing it until one day.
I think you observed it.
Yes, I was like, you realize like when you're wired, I'm calm. When I'm wired, you're calm. And I think we just realized we couldn't both be wired simultaneously.
I think it's just a natural thing. We have so much respect for one another. So our roles, we have our own jobs. I was working on an AI platform. I had created a couple platforms for Nissan when it comes to media, just learning management system type things. Anyways, I had built one for Nissan. I was building one for healthcare. And she's like, well, what's your long-term goal? I said, well, education. And she's like, why not now? I was like, I don't know how. And that's when she actually introduced herself. And I was like, okay, we're abandoning everything. And I did. I literally left all the Nissan. I found someone. I'm like, you have to replace me. Do this job for me.
You and I have had a series of what I refer to as divine appointments or divine interactions. And so everything from my manager saying, I think you need to meet this guy, Nathan Carroll, to that conversation to 100+ things that have happened since then. We have those chill bump moments where we're like, that wasn't us. Like that was God. Like that was a divine idea. That was a divine meeting. Like the things we've come up with, we would have never been able to come up with just in our own human capacity.
We bounce off each other, soundboard off one another. We also record everything. And I'd mentioned we'd shot a couple podcasts, but we just needed the data. Maybe this isn't the podcast. We get into that, but we explore ideas, we record those conversations get leveraged into AI to help us expand on them. And that's all of our work since the very beginning. I had this crazy idea. She wanted to host this think tank. It was a listening tour. And I kind of understood what you were talking about. I just thought, how do I capture that? I literally brought a camera, recorded everything. I didn't need the footage. I needed the audio. And we started building from there. I started experimenting on your data to build these AIs that we do everything with. Like I said, this is probably not the podcast to go down the AI world, but it's been magical. It hasn't been 2.5 years yet. June of 2022? Three. So it's been almost 2.5 years.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
And my goodness. So when she talks about changing the world, I don't really talk about it. I mean, to my very small group of friends, but publicly, I'm very private now about what the work I've been doing. Matter of fact, I've gone offline just about completely. And I used to share stories like what I'm doing with my life, and I've just been focused for the 2.5 years, supporting her vision. I build systems that support the visions, the vision she's casting, and she's a master at extracting information from people. I'm talking about hundreds of people at one time. It's pretty captivating watching you walk. It's really a show. If you wanted to come to and like be a part of this show, it's
like
incredible.
A little comedy, a little education.
Yeah, and I realized all you're doing is treating us all like third graders. You're literally, or high schoolers. You literally know how to get people to get up and speak when they otherwise wouldn't, and you get people involved.
Yep.
And it's something to witness. I'm glad that I'm just here to support it. I collect it, I store it, and leverage it back to you. I've basically captured her brain in artificial intelligence, and now she uses artificial intelligence. How often do you think daily?
Daily? How many hours are in a day that I'm awake? So 16 hours that I'm awake. So I use it probably 30 times a day at least. Yeah.
She's become an expert.
I use it from work to dating to managing finances to why is this plant dying? Like, just all kinds of things.
I thought, everyone up until you thought I was insane because I've been running around for 3 years now You have to learn how to leverage AI. 3 years ago, I was telling all my colleagues and coworkers, if you do not learn how to use this technology, you will be consumed by it. I said, AI won't replace you. The people using it will. And since then, I can't tell you how many people have messaged me, CEOs of companies in the last 2 years, AI won't replace you. The people using it will. And I feel so satisfied. But you believed early on, and you let me experiment with your data. And man, have we made some changes in this world.
We figured out that we have a 97% increase in productivity. So I was able to create 2 weeks of full-blown curriculum for starting a school in 2 hours.
And that's when you were brand new in AI.
And that's when I was brand new. I did it in 2 hours. And I got to thinking back when I was a new teacher, how long it would take to flesh out an entire just one lesson plan. And it's about a 97% increase in productivity.
And so I'm still staying on the head, and this is not going to become an AI podcast, but I want to talk about the work that's changing the world, but the tools that we're leveraging, and I've never gone public with. I've never told anyone publicly how I'm leveraging this technology because I'm always on the edge of figuring out where it starts to break down. And that's really what I'm doing, is always up on the forefront of what's coming in technology. I'm a technologist by trade, so I'm always looking at the future, and it's just a tool to me. I could care less about AI. Personally, I wished it wasn't here, but it is, and I have a responsibility to understand it. So yes, we have integrated AI into media, which is, I guess it's my claim to fame, and I've never told anyone that.
Well, I think we've talked about even having AI as part of our podcast, like
It is
having
gonna
that
be.
third
Yeah.
party. So we'll have to, maybe on that one, we'll introduce your official AI. And
Yeah, I have a personal assistant, Lucy. We'll have to include her as well into these things. But that's in the future. Right now, it's really an opportunity to get to know Joy and, you know, the work that she does. And I am there to assist. I'm her driver, number one. It's funny because she gets lost backing out of her driveway. But wherever we're going, she tells me which way to go. And you have saved me.
I have ways, yeah.
Well, we talk so much.
Yeah.
We're having a conversation on the way to the car, on the phone, or Marco Polo. We're talking about work. We're planning out our days, weeks, months. Some of the conversations end up talking about Washington, D.C., and we're thinking, is this how far this is going? And yes, it has. It's mind-blowing.
It already is.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And I think this is an opportunity for us to share with the world the work that we're doing, because it doesn't need to be in the shadows.
Yeah.
It needs, we're making videos constantly and sharing with industry and education partners. And I'm really focused on, because AI is taking everyone's job, just to let you know, my focus is to preserve the handful of jobs that we have to hold on to, which is infrastructure-based jobs, 14 career clusters. She mentioned CTE. I'm very passionate about preserving that. So that's where my passion's coming from, and her passion is, you got 3 really. Her doctorate is in leadership, education leadership. But you had 3 things that you were focused on. It was underrepresented females. But you also like second chances, so justice reform, second chances. But her big one, and this is the magic, she was hired, I'll give a quick version. She was hired to figure out how to develop the workforce of the future. Our executives realized the workforce of the future was in today's classrooms, is how I hear you describe it. And so she comes from education, planted into industry. They couldn't have picked a better person to put you with. That's why we say it's divine. And she's building bridges. We are building bridges. I come from industry side. She comes from education. And that unique relationship has made it possible for us to communicate each other's languages. And I'd like for you to go into that more about, if you don't mind, on the difficulty when it comes to educators and industry coming together to work together.
So you use the phrase building bridges. I like to use the phrase removing barriers. Being in education for so many years, you know, teachers all day are teaching, and they know they need to connect with industry. But can I just call someone at Nissan? Can I just call somebody, you know, at Truist Bank, right? So I'm teaching all day with kids. When and how am I going to call, and who am I going to call? So they're living in this lane. Then you've got industry out there making cars, you know, working their products, doing whatever it is, and they know they've got a huge population about to retire. They know they're not getting the skilled labor that they need, but they'll say, can I just like call a teacher? Like, is that even allowed? Like, I've actually been asked that multiple times. So you have these 2 channels of people that need one another, but neither one knows how to find each other. that's where I step in. So I've been referred to as an aggregator or a bridge builder, whatever you want to call it. So I live in both of those worlds, and I'm the person that says, you come here, let's put you together, and let's go make this happen. And so the thing that when I came to Nissan, they recruited me. I mean, they found me. They said, we don't really know what you would do. We just know we need this done. And so I asked the question, I said, can I just wave a magic wand and whatever I come up with, that's what we're going to do? And they're like, yeah, within reason. And I literally just stretched my arms out like this, like a bird ready to fly. Because working in government for 20-something years, you were working at the speed of government. Like you'd have these great ideas to do these things, and there'd just be red tape after red tape after red tape. And so that's what made me come over to private industry, was their guarantee of, yeah, if you dream it up, if it's any way possible to do it, we're going to do it. And my manager, the same one that introduced me to you, said to me, this is my first day, he said, Joy, my job is to mow down the grass for you. So if you're going and there's something I need to mow down, just tell me and I'll mow it down. He's mowed down a couple of legal situations. He's mowed down a couple of communication situations. But as a boss, as a leader, sometimes that's all you can do. Like, he doesn't know my education background. He doesn't need to. That's why they hired me. But he can mow the grass down for me. And so there have been so many pieces that have developed my way of thinking. We had it was a director level, and we were getting a no from legal on, can we do this? Can we get these high school programs going?
Well, I remember it was Vimeo. I was trying to get something approved with a media platform, and you called him.
Yes, and we were driving to a school.
Yep.
And he said, Joy, when someone says no, your response is supposed to be, well, how do we get this to a yes? Mm-hmm. And we looked at each other like, oh my gosh, I have used that. I don't even know how many times. And so what happens is it disarms the person that's giving you the no. Because sometimes people just say no because they don't want to put in the work to figure it out. I don't want to put in the work of how to figure out the legal reasons to be able to use this platform or to use these photographs or to put this teacher in the classroom. That's a trail that's new, and I don't want to blaze it.
It's so much easier to say no.
It is. And so as a recipient of the no, you can get really defensive, you can get really defeated, and you can just be like, fine. Or you can put a big old joy-rich smile on your face and say, well, how do we get that to a yes? And the confusion that comes across people's faces, and somehow they magically figure out how to get it to a yes.
You gave them something they can overcome, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here thinking this is what the podcast could be about. Every one of our podcasts, if we decide to do like a co-host thing, anytime we're together, it's probably going to be this. But it's like people are so used to being told no.
Oh, yeah.
And people don't even
try. Or saying no.
Yeah. I want to target those that are hearing the no, though, because I don't hear many no's. It's funny because people ask me all the time, well, what do you do for a living?
Whatever I want.
Arrogantly, not to sound arrogantly, I always say the same thing, whatever I want.
Yeah.
And people are like, what do you mean? And so you have figured out how to turn no's to yeses, and I am a trailblazer. I literally just go and build the thing because every boss I've ever had would have told me no if I would have asked permission to do it. And I'm not saying in one of these cases, ask for forgiveness, not permission. No, I complete my duties, and then I go out on the side and I'll build something else, another system, and then I present it. And I say, we can do this. And they say, yes. So I always go around. So when we first started working, I said, if we do this, everything we do, we have to put it in video. Because that was the way to circumnavigate. Because when you're trying to explain something on paper or just through words, it's impossible for your recipient to observe it. That's why it's much better for you to sit down, record a 30-minute explanation, and then take that 30 minutes and reduce it down to 3 minutes, and then you horizontally deploy that to anyone that should be involved. And I would argue, even more than AI, I would say that media has been our number one catalyst for our success.
Well, and I think that you and I recognize, we had this conversation one day. You've got your visionaries. They live up in the clouds. They have these big grand ideas, but they don't know how to deploy it. Then you have your boots on the ground who are like, just tell me what to do, but they can't think of the vision. So we live in a world where we can actually generate the vision and be the boots on the ground simultaneously. And so what we've learned is that when we put the whole thing together, here's the big idea and here's how to do it, and we put it in a video, no one has told us no. Everybody is just like, yeah, what do you need? How can I help? How can I be part of that? Like, we have a whole network of people who just want to be part of what we're doing. because they see. And here's the big piece. We have to add this piece in here. The thing that's changing is we have figured out how to leverage industry to support education. That's the big thing that we're doing. So where industry is saying,
drive it.
Yeah, where industry is saying, well, we're not getting the workers we need. Okay, what are you doing about it? Stop complaining about it. And so that big listening tour that you mentioned, that was the huge takeaway that we gathered, because we said, wave a wand. Like, if money, time, there are no objections, there are no barriers, what would you do? And I'll never forget this superintendent standing up and saying, well, if you could get us teachers and like pay those teachers, wouldn't that be awesome? And I just remember thinking, I wonder if we can do that. Nate, let's figure out how to do that. And that is what we do.
9 months.
9 months went from that idea to 4 Nissan employees in 4 high schools in classrooms that were once storage spaces or cheerleader practice rooms, or just all these spaces. The schools converted the spaces. We painted them ourselves. We did the whole 9 yards in 9 months. Things that companies never dared to dream to do, or things that companies would have taken a decade to finally stand up.
If there was one thing I have taken from you, and I'm trying to implement it in my life, it's that, like I said, I build systems. I've said this a million times, but I have failure to launch issues. I have imposter syndrome, and I have to make sure my system is so perfect before I deploy it. And our first year, our teachers were stressed.
We were building the plane while we were flying it.
And
I said that 100 times.
I've always thought of entrepreneurship, and I'd heard this one time. Entrepreneurship is jumping off a cliff and figuring out how to build a plane on the way down. That sounds good. And I realized, Joy, I wasn't perfecting that. I would build these things, and they would get up and working, but I would, oh no, we fix this.
Yeah.
We got to fix that. And I would, failure to deploy is my biggest downfall. And I watch you say, no, we'll figure it out. And I'm the same way, but you're on another level. You're just like,
You said to me one day, Joy, you're painting visions of reality that don't exist yet. I'm like, well, they do in my mind. So, so let's go.
Well, what it's taught me is, and I've known this my whole life, I've tell people all the time, there's no wrong way. Just start walking.
Yes.
And you will figure it out just through conversations. This is how you manifest.
Yes.
You manifest by speaking it into existence, but it's not a magical thing. You say out loud, I'm doing this. That's going to hold you accountable.
Yes.
And then by that, everything you think about, live, breathe, eat, sleep, you start to generate new ideas, and people hear, oh, what is that you're doing? And it just develops on its own because you said you willed it. This is what's happening.
You notice things. So I cast this crazy vision for you one day where I was like, listen, this is not just here and just local and just Tennessee. I have this like national vision of how industry supports education. Every single career and tech ed class should have an industry expert teaching it. And that industry should either be supplementing that teacher's pay to get them to what industry standard is, or paying the entire salary. And like, I'm not done until that has happened. And so I said, this is going to be something where I'm in Washington, D.C., where I'm like having conversations and impacting this from a national level. And I remember being like, okay, boss. And so now what happens is I've been in D.C. once already speaking on a panel. We have 2 different national organizations who are having us as their guides, as their experts. And every time this happens, I say to you, we're just one step closer. We're just one step closer. We're building that portfolio. We're building our credibility. We're building our experience. But because I've said it out loud, as crazy as it sounded, when it happens, we just kind of look at each other like, oh,
I want to add to that. Okay, so we were bouncing ideas off one another. And I literally, when I say I do whatever I want, with the blessing, I have amazing leadership. I've been blessed my whole life with understanding how to interact with my leadership, and my job is to make my leadership look good. That's all of our jobs. And I pride myself in that. And so I don't just abandon my responsibilities to some degree, but I will say that, Joy, I asked you, I was planning a trip to Mexico for us because Mexico had figured out how to integrate industry with their education. And we're like, hey, let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's go down there and figure it out. And that was a really fun trip that we did. But through that process, you had sent me over a list of what you wanted to accomplish in your first year. And I'm looking at it.
It was a PowerPoint, to be
exact. It was a PowerPoint. I'm reading through it, and I thought, how arrogant. I literally said, Joey, if you accomplish 1 or 2 of these things, you've done a lot. This is a lifetime amount of work. And we did it. in that one year,
then
we
some.
did that literally. So let me back up a little bit. So my leadership, I was like, listen, I'm doing this. I'm partnering with Joy Rich. She's in workforce development. I'm in global maintenance reinforcement, GMR, future technologies supporting maintenance and the future of maintenance. And we latched onto each other and we did not stop. And my leadership, my poor supervisor at the time, did not know what to do. I felt bad for him. I mean, I was trying to help him, but I'm like, this is what I'm doing. And I had support at the highest level, if you could imagine. They just, Nathan, go, have fun with it. And at some point, a year and a half in, my director came to me and was like, Nathan, what do you want? What do you want? What are you doing now? Because I'd completely abandoned my post. I hadn't seen my desk in a year.
I had to give like an evaluation summary to your person to give you an evaluation.
Yeah, it was so funny. I'd given myself to you. And he goes, my director, I love him to death. His name's Paul. He goes, Nathan, what do you need? And I said, strong leadership. And he said, okay. And I said, Joy Rich, I mean, I'm already doing the work. Just let me report to her. And now, Joy, you've been my boss for 6, 7, 8 months now.
I mean, I'd say for 2.5 years.
I would say 2.5 years, yeah. I need someone, even in my private life, my private business, Garrett Smith would know this. I remember like hiring Garrett Smith because I needed someone to be accountable to. Mm-hmm. I'm not very good at being accountable to myself. I hate management. I'm more of a leadership, drive the future.
Well, you're a passion project person. Yeah. So like right now you're going into the schools and you're teaching, and each day that you go and you teach, you are like lit up like a light bulb because you've activated your passion, like you're working in your passion right now with that.
Yeah, I got out from behind the computer, stopped talking to AI all day long. That echo chamber is not good. And plus, also, I'm at the limits. Like I've learned the limits of AI, but I've also learned the limits of my bandwidth. Yeah. I am literally stretching the fabric of my imagination, and I'm always on the edge of a panic attack to some degree. So if you could think about it like this, I think of myself kind of like a librarian. It's like I collect data, I organize that data, I break it down to its simplest, purest form, I render it down, or you could say distill, and then I organize that, and then I know how to recall it with AI. The problem is I have to be aware of all the data. And how many projects do you think we do? We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars in grants. Joy, you come to me every day. Hey, we got a new plan. And I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. Like you shared with me 116 PowerPoints. No, PDFs I had to go through today. 116 PDFs that I'm having to feed in and try to understand so I can build this matchmaking AI, which was awesome because we're going to use that AI for...
It's all building blocks.
Yes, I know. I know. It is fun. I need a team. Honestly, at some point, we're going to have to hire a team to do this because I'm at my limit. But see, when you're able to use your brain for work things, then you're not like spinning about your personal life. And I can tell you, like for my existence, work has been my saving grace for so many years, especially when I was a teacher, because you cannot stand in front of a high school class and have a bad day. They will eat you for lunch. So you've got to sit down, whatever is ailing you, troubling you, you have to sit it down, and you've got to go teach these kids like full throttle. And when you get done, you feel so good. Your energy's good. You're like, okay, I got to pick that issue back up. But man, it doesn't feel quite as big and heavy as it did before I sat it down. And I see that in you just in this last week of teaching in these high school classes. You're just lighter. Yeah, well, I needed to get off. In my personal life, I feel rock solid in my personal life. I'm very pleased with it. I remember it was at its... What would you say? Most. I mean, I remember going through a couple rough moments. You were we have
valleys.
Yeah, we've coached one another through multiple personal relationships.
Peaks and valleys.
Yeah, and I just realized I'm not chasing anything anymore. And for me personally, your personal life is going really well.
It is.
It's much more active than mine. I would say has a lot more potential than mine, but. You've gone through more peaks and valleys than I have. I've had one peak and a pretty good long valley. I'm content. I'm happy. I have Jesus now. It's way easier.
Well, I've had Jesus for a long time, so I'm good.
I know it. But there's something different when you're kind of like a newer Christian. You know, you get full of the Holy Spirit, and you don't feel so alone. So I'm finding my new tribe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So I know we probably got a million other things we can go to. I wanted to ask you because we were talking about a life-changing event that you had, a car accident.
Yep.
Would you mind going into that? Because it's really had an effect on you, on your work, on your personal life.
Yeah.
I sense it all the time because I drive her everywhere. And if I hit the brakes too hard, like, it scares her. So I'm even though I drive 95 miles an hour everywhere, she trusts me.
Just don't slam the brakes.
Just don't slam on the brakes.
Yeah. So I actually looked it up today. It was March 14th, 2022. I found those pictures to send to you. So this upcoming March will be 4 years. It's amazing how much life can change in 4 years. And so on that fateful morning, I was taking Grace to school just like normal.
Grace is her daughter.
Grace is my daughter. So she would have been 10 at the time. We were heading to school just like any old day, going through a light, and out of nowhere, everything goes white. Like, I didn't see a car coming. I didn't know to tense up. Just everything went white, like the movie The Matrix, or like you've seen where everything pauses.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And in that
That's
moment,
concussion.
in that moment when everything went white, I literally had the like conscious thought, oh, this is how I die.
It's pretty pleasant, isn't it?
It was the most peaceful moment of just,
Everybody's terrified of death, and I'm like,
No.
no, it's going to be a beautiful experience.
No, it literally was just calm. Just, this
It'd
is
be
how
beautiful
I die.
as long as you don't go through a wood chipper. Feet
Right,
first. So,
right, yeah,
You want to go quick, fast, in a hurry.
Yeah. So in the however long that was, that moment of, this is how I die. Okay. And then bounce back to reality and hear Grace screaming and all the things, and you're like, whoa, what just happened? And so, sure enough, a gentleman who worked for Nissan. I wasn't working for Nissan yet, but a guy who was working for Nissan hadn't slept right, worked third shift, fell asleep driving right through a stoplight, and just took us out. Inches between me sitting here having a conversation with you and not, and that being my last day on earth kind of thing. And from there I had all kinds of injuries. I'm still in physical therapy 2 days a week because of injuries from that. But my daughter gave me the most interesting perspective after all this. So she was wearing this little burgundy Harry Potter t-shirt that day. I was wearing a blue hoodie. I want to just burn whatever I was wearing because it all just was very, very negative. And so I noticed that she was wearing this Harry Potter shirt all the time. And so I said to her one day, I said, Grace, why do you always wear that shirt? She's like, well, it's my lucky shirt. I'm like, your lucky shirt? We almost died while you were wearing that shirt. She's like, almost, but we didn't. So it's my lucky shirt. And I was like bawling. 10-year-old little girl being like, it's my lucky shirt. And so when the first anniversary came around of like, wow, this is 1 year since I almost died. And she's like, no, Mom, it's 1 year since we didn't die. She shifted my mind.
Half full. Cup half
She
full.
shifted my mind from the day I almost died to the day I didn't. Our lucky day. It was our lucky day because truly, like, they sent out the unit that typically deals with fatalities. And so when the guy walked up, that's the head over that, he was like, you were the driver in that car? He was like, nobody survives that. Like, the way you got hit, nobody should survive that. And so I have been through a major physical journey. I have been through a major emotional journey, spiritual journey. But I learned in that moment and over the time following, life is too short to be unhappy. Do not stay in an unhappy relationship just because you don't want it to fail. Don't stay in a job that's suffocating you just because you don't want to look for another one. Don't put off going to the gym and getting your lifestyle healthy just because you think it's too hard. Like, I have had a complete metamorphosis in, I guess it's been 3.5 years. I don't look the same. I don't talk the same. I don't act the same. I don't think the same. Like, I am the best version of myself. At 46 years old, I like myself so much better than I did at 36 or 26. And I treat people, I've always treated people well. I've never been mean to people, but I treat them differently now. Like, I see past their surface. I think about what did they live through? Why are they like they are? We're all broken. There's nobody alive, as you say, that had parents that aren't broken in some capacity. Mm-hmm. So my quick to judge or, that person's this way, I don't do that anymore. Now I think, I wonder why they're like that. Mm-hmm. I wonder what caused that. And so I'm more inquisitive about those things.
I love that about us because my life has been dedicated for 18 years, dedicated to self-overcoming, personal growth. I've realized I had one role on this planet, and that is to be the best version of myself. Always tell the truth, especially when it's hard to find yourself in a situation you can't be honest. Don't blanking lie. I dedicated my life to that, which was overcoming. I probably said it in the last podcast. I don't know, because it's a core fundamental principle to my life. And you and I both, you were right there with me on personal growth. So all of our conversations will honestly, even all the work we do is a product of the personal growth you and I independently have taken on. And then we soundboard off one another. We're constantly sharing.
Yes.
You know, I was always sharing more of a philosophical, secular, which was good. My stuff works, but it was never for Jesus, right? It was.
Right.
I realized you came from a more spiritual side, and I came from a more secular side, and that was really beautiful too, to partner up. And you've been a part of my journey for 2.5 years. You've seen a big change. She described me in the very beginning as having a lot of rough edges. I describe myself as being feral. She's very elegant, sweet, kind. I'm a little bit rougher, way more direct. I beat people in the head until I get my way.
We fixed your verb tense usage.
We did. Seen, saw. I still work on it. Sometimes I get them backwards. It's the only thing I had a 1.7 GPA. I have to remind. I love going into schools and saying, "Where's my 1.7?" This system's probably not built for you. And to see me in high schools, I know I took a left turn there. To see me in high schools working with kids and seeing them light up.
Yeah.
It is so, I would have killed Joy. You had all these gifts, but you got lucky to find mentors that knew what to do with you and knew which way to point you. And that's really missing today.
Well, and I don't know that they knew what to do with me. Like I speak of Alice Hernandez. She just saw something in me. And I go back to that divine appointment. I have said this story before. You know, you always think divorce is wrong, that it's you know, it's not God's will. But my parents got divorced when I was 12. And I think if my parents hadn't gotten divorced, my mother would not have moved back home to Dixon, Tennessee. I would have not went to public schools. Had I not gone to public schools, I would have never been in a marketing classroom. Had I never been in a marketing classroom, I would have never met Alice Hernandez, who then pointed me on this direction. So you always have to ask yourself, does God ultimately have a plan for you? And you'll get to wherever that is. But other people sometimes make decisions that affect your life. So you may go down different detours and different routes. But if his ultimate purpose for me was to change the education system so that rural American kids have the opportunity to go after careers, he could have done it a variety of ways. But it's interesting to me that I connect it like, I don't know that was the wrong thing for my parents, because for me, that set me up to have this happen. So it makes me think a lot of times everyone always talks about, plan A. Well, I'm probably on plan like triple Q 9.75 at this point, a lot of little detours. But if every detour you go on, you learn something from it, you grow from it. I tell people all the time, once you know better, you have to do better. I don't judge you. You don't judge me. If you're constantly just moving forward, one step in front of the other, that's all you can ask for.
You'll course correct.
And I've even looked at my life. I was just thinking today, I think you and I have talked about this, where it's like my career, stellar, like could not have a better career. My children, amazing, could not have better kids. Health-wise, I have been knocked over the head so many times from things like car wrecks and type 1.5 diabetic. What is that? Like they've come up with a new version of diabetes and I have it. I'm celiac. I can't eat anything with wheat. You've almost seen me die in Mexico kind of thing, right?
That's not the place you want to get sick.
So health-wise, boom, boom, boom. No, I have to do all of this effort to just keep my energy. And then in my romantic life, I have had the rug pulled out from underneath me so many times. And you and I have had this conversation of why can you be so successful, so good in one thing and like so bad in the other? But you've said it. It's only through suffering that we grow. And so I've had devotional that I'm working on this week. And sure enough, suffering was the topic in this women's devotional. And I was like, that's it. If I didn't suffer from a car wreck and suffer from like physical ailments, I would never value what it takes to have the energy that you guys see, right? Because sometimes I had to go lay down and take a nap for 30 minutes before I did this, because I'm like, I got to get my energy back before I can talk. If I had not had failed relationships, I wouldn't value the one that's coming, the one that's going to be my final you know, who I'm going to survive the end of the world with is what I talk about. Who I'm going to be on the rocking chair on the porch with. I would not value that like I will value that, like I'm anticipating that if it had always come easy. So I think sometimes God allows us to suffer because we have to grow, and we're not just going to do it naturally. We have to have experiences to get us to those points.
I want to work backwards from there. I was talking, and by the way, let me reverse what I said about not getting sick in Mexico. So you don't want to get sick. We didn't know where a hospital was. We're in the center of Mexico, not a touristy place, by the way. The Paris of Mexico,
yes.
I will say.
Yes.
So no shade on Mexico, but when you're in another country and you think, what do we do? She had to spend the whole day in her hotel room. I was worried to death.
Yes.
Long story short, but yes, that wasn't a good experience. But I will work backwards.
I think we bonded forever after
we did.
that
I was
day,
sitting
though.
there. We were having breakfast, and I saw a little sweat mustache on her lip, and I was like, "Are you okay?" We sat down for 45 seconds. She said, "No," and that's when I realized you had an attack.
Yeah.
And I don't want to forget this part. I said I was going to work backwards from suffering. So I love my bartenders. I meet
Yes.
bartenders all over the country. And I was in Pensacola, and I met a bartender named Jasmine. And we were talking about suffering. I'm obsessed with the whole concept. And I remember just expressing something about children and blah, blah, blah. And she was like, she asked this question, well, how do I, she didn't ask it in this way, but she was trying to hint around about, well, how do I make my kids suffer? And I was like, no. You don't have to make anyone. Suffering's natural.
Yeah.
Just allow them. Don't save them from
Yeah.
the suffering. Guide
Yeah.
them when they're ready. And that was such
Yeah.
that for me it's suffering's inevitable.
It's kind
Be
of the
there for them
opposite.
when they're ready.
It's kind of the opposite of what Jason said. Like, don't mow the grass down for your kids. Let them mow the grass down, and maybe be there to help put a little gas in the mower. But
And then I want to keep going back a little bit further because we were talking about this divine and us working together, and we were talking about the education system and why I was so passionate about it, because I love telling this story because there's so many people that are lost. A lot of them end up being CEOs and Fortune 500 company. I mean, they do very well. Your D and C students tend to do very well because a lot of them, like me, rejected the education system. And I did in the 4th grade. I was in Miss Lusk's class. I was in every slow class you could put a kid in. I was drawing dirt bikes. That's all I thought about. Daydream. I just daydream constantly. And I wasn't interested at all. And in the 4th grade, I discovered cheating. Like, I got really good at looking like this, like a lizard. And the girl, her name was Jennifer. I wished I could remember her last name. She was real quiet, and she ended up being our valedictorian. But I was in math class, or it was elementary school, but then we were doing math, and I could see her paper, and I started copying it. And then I thought, we'll miss one on purpose. We're not going to start getting B's when I've never had anything more than a D. And I didn't quit. Boy, I became a master at cheating. And I was done. I knew that I was going to work for my parents someday. I knew that. I didn't know I was going to be a farmer. I had no idea, but I knew this was not for me. And I ended up graduating with a 1.7, cheated to get that, had 3 opportunities to graduate, but could not cheat through U.S. government and economics. They were so boring. And then I go to college, and I'm making straight A's. I'm like, I'm not dumb. I can do this if I want to. And then I become obsessed with learning. I become what's considered to be an autodidact, which is an independent learner, just obsessed with education. And meeting you, and now playing a massive role in the direction of education. How insane is that?
And you're in rooms with all of these college presidents and doctor of this and doctor of that. And they're like, Nate, how do we do this? Nate, how do we do that?
Yeah, I'm in the University of Tennessee and research and develop, and they're asking me how I build these AIs. And I said, and this is what I don't want to lose. I never want to ever take myself seriously, ever, which is why I act silly, which is why the jingle in the beginning of the video, I don't want you to take it seriously. We're here to explore ideas, not to be an authority of any idea. I want to figure it out with you. And what Grace did with that 10-year-old innocence, 11 years old at the time, that it was only through innocence was that she was able to see the beauty in something. And we get so distracted by responsibility and honestly, we take ourselves so seriously. We think we're so important, and then we think we're afraid to mess up. And I'm like, no, listen, childlike curiosity.
I was waiting
and
for you
so
to say that.
UT,
Yes.
he goes, his professor, he's like, how do you build these AIs? And he's like, is it as Raspberry Pis and Arduinos? I was like, no, listen. Childlike curiosity and obsession is my gift. I have an obsessive. It's not a disorder because I use it wisely, but I become experts. I become an expert at things because of an obsession to understand it on a first principle way of thinking. I figure out how to break it in every way possible, and it's only through making those mistakes. That's why I've never failed. I don't even know how to fail.
Or you fail forward.
Well, I don't even
you know?
like saying that I failed because failure is a consequence of quitting.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to quit is a better way.
Yes.
Because that's what's fun.
Yeah.
It's the puzzle.
Yeah.
The magic is in the mystery. Why would I, like when it doesn't, you know when I'm most unhappy in my life?
When everything's working right?
When I accomplish my goals.
Yes.
It is the most depressing thing
know.
ever. And I figured that out years ago. I build them and then I pass it on to someone else.
Well, that's why I think you like teaching in the schools, because you told me today, you're like, I teach something different every time I've been in there. And that's the cool thing about education. Every day is different. There's no standard day. Kids do different things. Fire drills happen. Like, it is constant something happening.
They call it teaching. I'm just exploring.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And I'm stumbling my
You're
way. I haven't
exploring
taught this
out
stuff
loud.
in a
Yeah.
decade. And it's like these fundamental skills. I'm like, oh my goodness, we can take this so far. And they're seeing me stumble through it.
Yeah.
Because I think the greatest advice that comes from people is not answers. The greatest advice is questions.
Oh, yeah.
Is saying, I don't know, that's a great
Yep.
question. Let
Yep.
me follow up with a question. And that, I think, is, if a teacher would have looked at me and
That's-
said, Nathan, that's a great question, but I was bullshitted my whole life from parents. Parents and teachers are afraid, just people, adults, I should say, are afraid to look at a kid and say, I don't know. It's almost like their ego, and they'll make stuff up a lot of times. I'm not shooting everybody
It
down.
depends on their level of security, because
That's it.
I remember students would ask me, kids will try to ask you every question to stump you. And I learned a long time ago to say, you know what, Nate? I don't know. Why don't you figure that out and come back tomorrow and give me a presentation on that?
Yeah.
And so that kid that's being a little, you know what, in the class just to drive the teacher crazy, he'll stop messing with the teacher because she will give him the assignment of coming back with the answer, or he'll get super motivated. He'll go find the answers and be like, Miss Rich, you know, I asked you that crazy question about, you know, why were salamanders this color or what? Well, I figured out that it has to do with whatever. And so it's security, but that matters outside of teaching, even in regular life. An insecure leader is a dangerous person. An insecure spouse or dangerous person, because as long as you're secure and you can say, you know what, I don't know how we're going to pay this bill, but we'll figure it out. Or I don't know what we're going to do about this illness, but we're going to figure it out. Like just having that security, especially as a Christian, of being like, I don't know the answer, but we're going to figure it out, and God's going to show us what to do. And I think we're going to have to kind of close
we gotta
down.
wrap up.
But I think that you and I, it's not just been you and I for the last 2.5, 3 years. God's been right there guiding it the whole time. In the first portion of our relationship, it was more me kind of lightly saying things. And I said to you,
Sorry, her alarm's going off. We have things to do.
tell me,
We're about to close up.
But I remember saying to you, here and there, I was reading a book on boundaries, and there was 2 pages that said something about, you know, God's going to push you to do something and you're going to run from it. That sort of, I don't remember exactly what it was, but I actually took a picture and I sent it to you, and you're like,
It annoyed the crap out of me.
like, shut up, Joy. Don't tell me that I was meant
I'm
for
pretty
something for
harsh.
God. But I just keep smiling and keep going. And I would make statements like, man, that was a divine appointment we just had, or that was a divine thing. And so my daddy's a preacher. I was raised my entire life to know in the physical world, there's always a spiritual world happening simultaneously. Even now, as we're sitting here talking, there's a spiritual element to this conversation. And I think that's the big takeaway for whoever's listening. Whether you've had a car wreck or a bad health diagnosis, or you're frustrated at work, or you're frustrated with your spouse, or you're frustrated with your kids, or you're just in this like, I don't know what to do with it. My question is, when did you stop and talk to God about it? Like, have you stopped and picked up your Bible, read the Proverbs of the day? You know, there's 31 Proverbs. If you just read that day's Proverbs, if today's the 16th, read Proverbs 16, you will be shocked how many times you can read Proverbs and you pick something out of it each time that's meant for you for that day. And so I think that's the word of encouragement, is if you're just feeling overwhelmed in whatever it is, stop, have a conversation with God about it and say, what am I missing? What do I need to do differently? Like, slow me down and show it to me kind of thing.
I think that's a good place to stop, but I'm glad you ended it on a faith-based Christian, going back to the Bible.
Yeah.
All the work that I do from now on is not to glorify my crown. We talked about that. It's going to go to glorify his crown. So I can't say that I'm a new Christian, but I am new at being surrendered and making sure I do things for, in honor of him. So you will see a massive difference in me in that sense, but I don't want to change who I truly am at my core. This feral, child. I am a child.
You are, but think about this. On my own, on my just joy-rich self, I would never have the confidence to say, I'm going to go change the world. But as I sit here talking to you, I'm changing the world as we speak. We are changing the world as we speak. Doors are being opened for us that we could not open on our own. Ideas land in our brains that we could have never come up with on our own.
Every day.
It is constant. And we have to be willing, and we have to be the vessel, and we have to say,
we have to share it.
We have to say, okay, I'm willing to put in the work. I'm willing to do it. Because God the people I have learned that have the greatest callings sometimes have the most suffering, have the hardest lives. And so when you see somebody who's suffering a lot, I always think, are they ignoring a calling? Is there something about them that they're supposed to do?
I want to add to it. You can't do it by yourself.
No.
You're arrogant to think that you can do anything in this world of value if you think you're going to do it by yourself. Your value is literally a result of your network.
Oh, yeah.
The bridges that you've built with other people. What can you do in someone else's life? I focus on helping others. Because of that, I get so much back. My network is massive. Your network is massive. And also find people that compliment you.
They're
I
of your
hate
fabric.
public speaking.
Yes.
Yeah, but I can't stand public speaking. She's a public speaker. She forces me into it. I don't like doing it. But we are the opposite of one another, and that bookends, and that's why we're so good together. But I dedicate all my effort to glorify your work through God at this point. But you know what I mean? My job is to assist you, and we're never in a competition. And your job is to assist me. We literally support each other in ways.
We set each other up for success.
Gosh, yes, we
And
do.
if you think about it, like in marriages, right? We have these examples. If two people who are in a marriage were just trying to set each other up for success all the time, would they not achieve success, right?
I see the what of life is this hierarchy, this triangle. She's on one side, I'm on the other, and I go do something great, and yes, you can too, Joy, and I'm pulling her up, and she goes above me. And I learned that in the military, when you're trying to climb this scaffolding, you're helping one another. You're pushing, you're pulling, and that's the only way to make it through life. Too many people are holding each other down, and it's like, well, you're never going to get anywhere.
I have to say this one thing before we end, and I got to find the exact quote, and I'll give you the image so you can even put it in this video. And this is how we'll have to close it. So we talk about feathers, right? Like that you, in life, you earn feathers. Maybe you won something, or you won a trophy, or, oh my gosh. Hang on.
We talked about this.
Yes.
Since like
You're going to have to do a little pause in the
problem.
video while I find this real quick, because this is really good what I'm going to send you, or what I'm going to. Okay. So an issue that I have experienced, specifically, even when I was teaching, but as I started coming out and having these bigger roles, I would do these really cool things. I would build aviation labs. I would get grants. I would do these things. And whoever was like my leader might not have had anything to do with it, but they wanted the feather. They would be the one to accept the trophy, so to speak. And for the longest time, that just griped me. Like, it literally just gave me a bad attitude towards some people. And you saw it, because I'd be like, oh, that's so-and-so. He's a feather
you
stealer.
Gotta give them away.
And you said, Joy, just give them away. And so finally, it hit me the other day, and I put together this quote, and I'm going to send this to you.
I already saw it. You were sitting right next to me when you made it.
Someday when I've written my book, and I'm out teaching people how to do the things that I've done, how to change the world, I'm going to walk around, and I'm going to hand out like big, beautiful peacock feathers to people, all throughout the room. And they're going to be like, what in the world? And this statement that says, true leadership isn't in keeping your feathers. It's in sharing them so others can see their own colors too. And so when we shift that mindset from it's mine, it's my feather, it's my idea, it's my win,
small-minded,
to we, us, our, rising tide lifts all boats. If I've said that one time, I've said it 1,000 times. And so that's just another takeaway from this conversation today of, if you're hoarding your feathers and you don't want to share them, Think about a peacock. If he walked around all covered up, we wouldn't get to see how pretty he is. But because he fluffs it all out, we all get to see the colors. We all get to see like, oh, wow, I can be part of that. Oh, I've got colors too. Let me go pull my feathers, right? And so I think that's just another piece. Like, that's the growth that's happened professionally, but it's affected me personally. So our professional work has made both of us grow personally. I can probably say 20 things about myself that's happened and probably another 30 on you. Mm-hmm. So when you have the pleasure of working with someone who becomes your best friend and you're straight with each other to where you're like, man, I'm going to tell you something you don't want to hear today, Joy. And boy, you're rough. Like sometimes I know,
you've cried multiple times and I felt bad.
You're just like, Joy, da-da-da-da. And it's like, but every time I'll take a day or so and I'll dwell on it. And sometimes I'll come back and be like, that was pretty rough. Mm-hmm. But it's usually something I needed to hear or experience or do some inward reflection. So,
well, you always say we don't want to just be your partner. We want to be your best partner. And I started saying I don't want to be your friend. I want to be your best friend. And I have a responsibility to always tell the truth, especially when it's hard to fight. You know what I mean? I have to, because if I don't, I have to live with the guilt. When you said, when you know better, you're going to do better, I live by that as well. Yeah. I heard you say that, and I thought, I know better. I have to do better. It's hard. Being honest is hard.
We've probably rattled off 10 good quotes in this one podcast, so I'll let you just summarize it all together.
That's it.
I've got to get on the road.
Yeah, we got to go.
And do the next thing.
We'll do this again very soon.
Yes.
Until next time.
Bye, everyone.
So long, friends. I'm so glad I changed that.